Hey guys, welcome to PatternLab.London. I'm Ralph, and in this week's episode, I've got some really exciting news. So basically, we finished off Francesca's, let's say, Indigo Robe pattern, and we're now obviously ready to start construction. And I actually sent off the print to Fashion Formula, which is a London-based digital printing studio, and we now have the fabric back. So we've got 3 meters of it, which is loads, and this is the print, which is looking gorgeous. I would say, on analysis, the scale is probably a little bit too small, but that's my fault. We've had to rush this project through just because we've got some other really exciting news, which is, so me and Francesca are off on holiday, it's finally been confirmed, on the 29th of this month. And so we've got some other bits and pieces that we want to make for that holiday. So obviously we want to get this finished off for the holiday, and we also wanted to get a few bikini beach cover-ups sorted as well. And I'm going to follow on from this blog to kind of explain those little sideline projects as well. But anyway, so this is our fabric, looking amazing. Because we're also away this weekend running the Edinburgh Marathon, we haven't got time for me to make this, so I'm actually going to send this off tonight to a really amazing samplist of mine, Tosca, and she's going to hopefully create the dress for us in our absence. So that's going to be awesome. So we should have it back by Monday or Tuesday, and then we're off on Wednesday on holiday, so not much time. Also, over the past couple of days, I've been designing a collection of, let's say, bikini beach cover-ups, as I mentioned before, which we're going to take away on holidays and get some really beautiful lifestyle images of, including this robe. And here's one of them over to the left here. But essentially, I'm going to take you through that process now. So a little bit about kind of like designing it, then putting it into Adobe Illustrator, colouring it up with some of these really beautiful Japanese ikat cottons that we found from the cloth house. Yeah, so let's crack on with it. So I'm going to start the design work now. I'm going to add the design work that I did about a week ago. So it's kind of like we're adding stuff that we've done before, but essentially it's going to look like we're just starting it now. Yeah, okay, but as I said, some really exciting news. Yeah, let's get started, and I can show those projects. Okay, so when it comes to, let's say, a series or collection of bikini beach cover-ups, I'm looking for a variety of different garments. First of all, they need to be loose-fitting, comfortable, very airy or breezy, so they breathe very easily, and also made out of materials that are very sort of like soft against the skin, but also allow like sweat to wick away. Yeah, and also maybe something she sort of like wrap herself up in, so maybe either at the beach or at the swimming pool. If it gets a little bit chilly, she can basically, you know, cover up. And also maybe if we want to go for lunch or if we want to go into dinner, a garment that transitions well from, let's say, beach to evening wear. So maybe a collection of stuff that's kind of not luxury but looks like quite high end, but is also applicable for the beach. So yeah, I mean, I've got a few ideas, what I've been thinking about for a while now, but also we were going to do a kimono project for Francesca as well, so I want to maybe use that concept and implement it into these bikini beach cover-ups, so maybe a few kimono styles as well. Yeah, anyway, so I have my model templates from Preta Template, and I'm literally just going to start coming up with about 6 or 7 sketches, and then we'll CAD them up in Adobe Illustrator and start to fill them with some beautiful fabrics and swatches to get that design process on the go. Okay. Okay, so we've done a bit of design work now. I've got 5 garments in front of me, and I've actually taken the actual illustrations, so the drawings, I've actually put them into Adobe Illustrator. I've CAD'd them up, as you can see here, so they're now line art illustrations. And if you want to learn how to do fashion design in Adobe Illustrator, we have a tutorial for you as part of our season 1. I'll find out what episode it is, but I'll link it to this blog post as well. But essentially, I've just bypassed that sort of like process and created these illustrations ready for us to like take our pick and then obviously start pattern cutting and then sourcing material and getting these made as quickly and as fast as possible. But yeah, so these are basically the illustrations. So at the moment, I think I'm most in love with the, let's say, little shirt bikini cover up or shirt dress bikini cover up, the really beautiful long line sort of like robe, and also this cute sort of like crop, kind of, let's say, I don't know, like a little kimono, but it's kind of like more of a poncho really. But yeah, so these are really interesting. I quite like the look of them. These are going to be maybe a little bit too complicated at this point in time, but these 3 I love. So we're going to crack on with those ones. Okay, so this is my lineup, pretty much CAD'd up, but we've also added some of these materials, and this is very, very simple. So essentially all I did was get my iPhone and take an image of a square of the material just laid flat on the table. Unfortunately, I took it in dark light, so they're a little bit dark here, a little bit grey, but they should be much brighter and whiter. But this just gives me a vague idea of kind of like what the garment's going to look like, maybe if the material choice works. I mean, I am kind of rushing through this a little bit just because we haven't got a huge amount of time. It's actually a week to be precise. So this is great for the kind of timing that I have right now, but we could put way much more energy into this. We could also, let's say, add some accessories, some shoes, some heels, but the concept is I'm going for a really sort of like bright black and white with a really like beautiful kind of like color pop. Maybe this could be like a bright orange instead of this like turquoise, but something that's very kind of graphic and very edgy. There you go, maybe that's a bit too much. So a little bit 80s. Very graphic-y with like bold colors and accessories. But anyway, this kind of like gives you an idea of how we'd maybe, let's say, design the collection or design these garments together as a collection. Okay, in terms of how they actually go together. And this would just be a plain white shirting fabric. Maybe you could have the buttons in blue, for example. Or maybe you'd have the inside of the collar, probably like a light blue or a teal or maybe a pop of pink, perhaps. Anyway, I'm not going to dwell too much on this because I want to kind of like get started. So I think, first of all, I'm absolutely in love with this little poncho. I love the fabric. I also love the kind of like cut and the fit and stuff. So I think this is going to be the one we're going to start drafting first of all. And we're literally just going to jump straight into Adobe Illustrator and start drafting this. Now, on this blog post, we're going to have the main video blog, which is this one, and I'm going to give you an overview of this pattern once it's been completed. But we will also, in true PatternLab style, below it, at the bottom of this blog page on the PatternLab website, so not on YouTube, but on the PatternLab website, at the very bottom, you will see a detailed tutorial on how we actually went about cutting or creating, pattern making this poncho using PatternLab's automated blocks. So using Francesca's custom measurements, obviously putting them into the lab to generate a basic block that fits her perfectly, and then from that we're going to pattern cut it and transform it into this lovely poncho, and we'll also start to make it. So this video blog post will very much detail this product, and then the next 2 will detail these ones separately. Okay, so before we actually start the pattern cutting process, I want to explain a little bit more about these fabric choices that I found. So once again, we've got these from Cloth House, which is a shop on Berwick Street in central London. Berwick Street is renowned for having a lot of fabric shops that have the stock of a large variety of very high quality fabrics. It's not cheap, but you really will get the very best. It's also favoured by fashion students because obviously, the quality and the quantity. So I've chosen a Japanese ikat cotton. And the special thing about the ikat cotton essentially is that basically it's hand woven on a loom, which is why it's only about 115 centimeters wide, but also the way that it's put together, so essentially the individual threads are dyed before they actually go into the weaving process, and they're dyed in blocks, which is why when it's woven together, they don't always line up, which means you get this really beautiful sort of like striated effect, if that's the correct word. Which creates this really organic, beautiful, let's say, print or pattern. It's not a print, it's a pattern, or a woven texturized pattern. Not the correct words, but still. So this is absolutely stunning. I think this is gorgeous, and I'm loving this for the little poncho kimono cover up. And once again, same thing here. We've got the same effect again. I'm going to call this Dalmatian long coat, which we're going to use it for. And this is once again the cat cotton. Once again, it's been dyed beforehand, and when it's been woven, when they go together, it creates this really interesting sort of like striated effect. So these materials are absolutely stunning. They're about £15 to £18 each, which isn't cheap, but they really are beautiful fabrics, and I feel like they're going to bring like a nice high-end kind of quality to these garments and really stand out. And also with Francesca's skin tone, so basically when she gets in the sunshine, she goes very, very brown, so, or very dark. So I think that this sort of like this white cream and this black is going to really pop against her skin. And then also what we'll do is we'll use some really beautiful sort of like, you know, pastel-y like turquoise sort of like colours to kind of like match in. So we have this really beautiful sort of like colour scheme. And we'll have like matching accessories like earrings and bangles and high heels and God knows what else. And hopefully set against sort of like the Corfu Mediterranean backdrop, it's going to look absolutely amazing. Okay, so let's not mess around. Let's get on to the pattern cutting of these garments. And once again, we're going to start off with the poncho first of all, which is this material. Okay.
So this is our finished pattern for the poncho kimono cover-up, as you can see it here on the left-hand side. So let me just explain a little bit about how we've kind of created this. And this is very much just the overview. We do have a detailed tutorial on how to actually create this in Adobe Illustrator using PatternLab's custom fitting basic blocks. So as you can see here, that tutorial will be below this video on the same blog page or blog post page. So here we have our torso blocks. So these are Francesca's torso blocks. So we have the front and we have the back, and these are using her bespoke or her unique measurements. We've automatically drafted these blocks using PatternLab just simply by entering her measurements into our system and then simply making a few design selections and then outputting this pattern. And then we've obviously it's a full-size pattern. We then brought it into Adobe Illustrator, and now we've started to pattern cut. So this is our front block, and you can see it has just a shoulder dart, and this is our back block also with a shoulder dart, and we've got no way shaping here at all because we don't really need it. So what I've done is essentially this is going to be the shoulder seam, and this is going to be the cuff, and then this will be the collar, and this will be the main body of the garment. So the reason why we place these patterns end to end is because we want the front to then essentially touch the back using that shoulder line, and then obviously the centre back and centre fronts match up. So essentially we're looking at this pretty much on the horizontal. Let's make it vertical. It might make a little bit more sense. Let me just also get rid of the finish pattern, which we'll come to in a minute. Okay, let's move this over here. So if you understand that this is essentially the front of our garment, this is the front body, this is the back body, and then this is the cuff, which is then obviously doubled over, so we then fold this back on itself, and then we have the collar that basically matches in to this bit here, and then that little piece here will then fold around the back. So this is the collar. There's not much to really explain about this. Essentially all we've done is taken the centre back point, measured along the top of the arm until we meet the very tip of the, let's say, the sleeve. This is the sleeve length of the finished garment, and I believe, what's the length of that? Let's have a look, it's been a while. 62 centimetres. Okay, so this is going to create almost like a 3/4 length sleeve, and then we have our little cuff added onto that, or sorry, added away from that. So this is 62, and then we have about 8 centimeters in, and then we have the body. So it's going to be quite large, oversized garment. And also the length, so this is a thigh length block, which we selected in PatternLab, and then we just simply added on about 5 centimeters just to lengthen it slightly longer than the thigh, and it's probably about 8 or 9 centimeters here. And then we've just simply, this is our neckline. So there's not really much else I can say about this. If you want to find out how we actually created this, then obviously have a look at that tutorial, which is below this video blog post on the blog post page. So let's just go to the actual finished pattern. So let's just put that there. So this is our finished pattern. So essentially what I mean by finished pattern is we now have seam allowance and we have some details on here. So as you can see, we have a 1 cm seam allowance around each of these pattern pieces. We have some labeling and information, some grain lines, and obviously these are fold lines. And we also have some notches as well that help us actually match this garment or these panel pieces up when it comes to sewing. You see how these two match up. So that's essentially it. Now all we do is basically put that onto an A4 PDF print template. Essentially it's a selection of A4 pages. We place the full-size pattern on there, and then when we print it out or save it, it breaks that pattern up into A4 pages, and you can print it from your home printer, piece it together, and then we can start cutting it out and making it in material. So here we have our poncho pattern, but it's been placed on our A4 print template, as you can see here. So obviously this gets broken up into individual A4 pages when it's printed, and we can then obviously piece these together. So we simply cut along this edge here, and we piece it together using these registration marks, which is really handy. Okay, so it means we don't need a big full-scale printer to print this off in one piece. We can do it individually. So I'm just simply going to press print, and let's just print this off and start cutting this up.
Hey guys, so this is our finished final Japanese ikat cotton kimono coat, or bikini cover up, and yeah, I think it's pretty sweet. I mean, took about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to put together, so it's pretty simple. All it really is about 3 or 4 panels, so the 2 cuffs, the collar, then obviously you've got the body which folds over to the back. I think the ikat really brings it to life and gives it that lovely pop, otherwise it'd be quite a dull, or just let's say plain or boring garment otherwise. I really like this little black pop as well. So I think the only thing we need to really add now is just a, let's say, a little belt, so she can actually do it up, and just add some little loopholes on the side just to kind of, so it stays in place. But apart from that, I think it's looking really lovely, and I'll put some images of it up on the blog post. But yeah, so if you join me next episode, which should be in a couple of days, if not tomorrow, I'm going to be making the beautiful long coat in the other beautiful black and white Japanese ikat cotton, which is a bit more of a Dalmatian spot. One last thing, so obviously when this is, when we're on holiday, we're going to team this up with some really beautiful, really strong accessories, like a really nice, beautiful colour, just like make the whole thing pop and stand out, especially against Francesca's, quite tanned, dark skin. So yeah, it should be really fun. So join me in the next episode. Also, please feel free, like us on Facebook. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. We have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also Pinterest page, and we're even on Reddit as well. If you want to stay up to date with any of our most recent projects, or even use PatternLab to draft your own custom fitting bespoke blocks, which you can then obviously use our tutorials to pattern cut into amazing garments. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.